What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Mind and Grind Podcast, where we focus on mind, money, and motivation. I'm your host, Julian Manis, and today's another episode of our series, Money Talks, where I interview professionals in the mortgage and finance industry. And today, my guest is Arianna Gonzalez, who is a badass in her industry, and I've worked with her for years, and we've closed hundreds of deals together. So I don't want to take away her thunder. So Arianna, let's give a little introduction to the audience.
What's up, everybody? This is Ari. Most of you know me by that. Very, very personable, so very happy to be here. Love podcasts, so I'm extra happy for this to be my first podcast.
Yes.
And anything you guys want to know, by all means, I'm an open book.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to find out a lot. So why did you choose mortgages as or what actually led you to doing mortgages?
Not a choice. I think it was by default, 100%. Tracking back likely around 2018, 19, around there.
Okay.
And I honestly just needed a high-paying job. So I looked up, high-paying jobs in, hot locations, Coral Gables, Brickles of the world. And I got a receptionist position at Caliber Home Loans in Coral Gables.
Got you.
And I was going to school. full-time. I was working full-time. And I liked it because I could do my online classes while I worked, right? I always got my work done, so it was never a problem. Now, one day, I wanted to be a lawyer to begin with.
Yeah.
And
is that what you're going to school for?
Nothing makes sense. I'm just an anomaly. None of it. I wanted to be a psychiatrist, actually. I studied psychology and I studied mass communication. So I minored in psych, majored in communication, but wanted to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
Ended up in mortgages.
Nice.
Because I remember telling the branch manager at the time, I said, you know what, thank you for everything. I just got accepted into the sponsorship program for this and that. And he's like, you're going to spend $40,000 on student loans? He's like, look, you make copies here. Mm-hmm. You see W-2s, right?
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, what the hell is a W-2? So I didn't even know how to spell mortgage, to be honest.
Gosh.
That's my favorite part of my story. I did not even know how to spell mortgage.
Wow.
And he told me, he's like, well, you're smart. If you work hard enough, I think that you could be successful as being a loan officer. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, damn. The kicker, you avoid student debt. And I was like, sold. And that's why I got into it. I studied, I got my license, I became an assistant, and I just climbed up the grapevine, pretty much. Junior processor, basically like a loan partner.
That's awesome. So you learn the whole back ends of everything.
Oh yeah, that's what I love about now being in sales, because it's almost as if you went through the trenches just to get to the top.
Yeah.
So you know exactly everything about the operations and the foundation, not just the fun stuff, right? Because I'm a salesperson, so to me, you're a salesperson, right? So it's very fun at the end of the day. Getting that client or, getting that lead done or converting.
Exactly.
It gives you that sense of accomplishment.
For sure.
It is fun and it's tailored to my personality, but I think the best part is when you can have both.
Yeah.
Because you really know how to get down and dirty as far as structuring, as far as knowing your guidelines, knowing your shit,
Exactly.
But also applying it.
Yep.
So that's, I think, very, very important. And that's why I fell in love with it, because law, right, as far as what I wanted to do professionally, it's very similar. Mm-hmm. That's the way I like to present it to people. I'll tell them, look, at the end of the day, the judge is the person who was going to review my case. I wanted to do mediation, right? So I had to set up an argument. I would have needed precedent, etc. With mortgages, it's similar. It's just the only law that I abide by is the financial law, right? Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, housing of urban development, right? Yeah. So I've gamified my career myself because it's not exactly what I wanted to do. It's what I ended up in. Mm-hmm. But I firmly believe in just, if you know who you are as a person, you can tailor the things that you do in your life to fit your personality, right?
For sure.
And if that's not the case, then find something else.
Yeah.
That makes you happy. So I'm lucky enough to be able to use psychology, be able to use communication, be able to use...
That all ties in with what we do.
It all ties in without even, doing it on purpose, right? It's almost inevitably because I read clients and I read humans or realtors, or when I'm at networking events, right? You read the room, and that's where psych plays in. Right?
Yeah.
And then communicating, you have to be able to Defend yourself, be able to assess the information you get. I'm not big on fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
I think it's make it till you make it.
For
you
sure.
know what I'm saying?
For
like
sure.
I think you need to take the information or look it up. You know, if I don't know something, I'll tell people all the time, you know what? Let me get back to you on that. I want to make sure that I'm going to give you the right information.
Exactly.
And it's not, oh, I don't know. No, man, just like know how to speak, hold your ground,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
Defend yourself.
Yeah.
So that I think makes you stronger in the sense than, you know, faking, oh, just close or like this or like,
Exactly.
like, and
but then when people call you for questions or information, you can't say anything.
that's the thing. You have to walk it like you talk it.
Exactly.
Because if not, I think faking it till you make it can actually hurt you. I
is.
think it depends on the industry, right? Like if we're talking music industry, you want to have that facade. You want to have that audience and, you know, that kind of streamline of like, oh, like this person's really successful, really important.
Yeah.
You know, because you get more limelight. That's the goal of that field, right? But you're dealing with laws. You're dealing with, and I think we forget that, especially here in Florida.
Yeah.
Because Florida is very rah-rah.
Yep.
And it is what it is, right? It's our culture. You can't hate it. You
Yep.
know, I'd be a hypocrite because, you know, when I was a Heat fan, I was there all the time, like, yeah, go Wade. You know, but it's not just the fanaticism of it, right? Like you have to have your roots. So that's what I think is the main difference with this industry. You can't really, you could fake it till you make it, but you just have to be very careful, tread lightly, because if you come across somebody that knows their stuff and you just say whatever without
like a
filter.
dumbass.
Yeah, and the worst part is you burn that bridge.
Yeah.
Because you're not credible anymore. You're flaunting. You're not authentic.
Yep.
You know, so at that point, I think you lost more than whatever you attempted to gain.
Yeah. So I know that one way of getting leads is through realtors, and kind of tying that in together. You know, there's a lot of, you have to deal with egos and a lot of people's personalities too. So how is it juggling like the relationship with a realtor and the relationship with the client at the same time? Because a lot of people listening, maybe they want to get into the, you know, mortgage industry. Yeah. And that's one thing that people don't really talk about, is trying to juggle all these relationships.
It's difficult. One of the main pillars of why I'm so different now since Argentina is because of this specific podcast that I listened to, this episode on Lex Friedman with the psychiatrist. His name is Paul Conti. And he recently wrote a book. He spoke about trauma and how it affects, you know, how people go ahead and heed their lives, right? So to me, I paid attention to it a lot because it talked about ego, it talked about narcissism, psychopathy, sociopathy, all of these things that I really didn't understand. Like you can kind of get context clues, like, okay, so it might talk about this, might be about that.
Yeah.
But the beauty of learning those things is that it opens your minds. Like I felt like a kid again in school. I started writing notes like, okay, so this is because of this, and we have to make sure, and we have to measure. And to me, the only way to be able to understand how to deal with humans is to learn more. Yeah. Information is so much power. And for whatever you do, right? Like, look, in my career, the more I read guidelines, the better I can structure a loan. Yeah. The better I can create a new avenue of, we can get it done this way. We can get it done this way, right? Same thing with dealing with people. The more people that I deal with, the more good times, the more bad times, right? This week right now, full of problems, full of stress. You get to see how dealing with something one way, you see the ripple effect of it, right? Not dealing with something, you know, in advance can cause another effect to things. Yep. So to me, it's critically thinking about everything. Yeah. And I don't think we do that anymore. So it's becoming more and more difficult for people to understand egos, to understand different kinds of people. Because at the end of the day, what we're all doing is we're living in, respectfully, just a virtual reality. Yeah.
We all live in our own world. So you're basically just working on yourself. And that's been helping your relationships.
And yes, but there's a downside, right? Like this is the whole point of that podcast. Okay, so he talks about how there's positive and how there's negative aspects of, you know, being narcissistic. Okay. Because if you think about it, if you're successful, to an extent, you're somewhat of a narcissist. Take away the negative connotation from it, right? Yeah. Because you have to focus on yourself. you have to do better, right? How you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't think that I'm a negative narcissist. No, but do I have some narcissistic tendencies? I do, I'll be honest, because I want to succeed. I want to win.
Yeah.
You know, if it's you standing next to me, like, it's going to be me. It's not going to be you.
Exactly.
You know? And I don't mean bad upon you. I'm just focusing on myself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look around, you know? So I think there is positivity in narcissism, but the only way I'm even talking about any of this is because I got educated.
Yep.
I learned, right? I learned about existentialism, nihilism, absurdism, things that right now I wouldn't even recognize myself hearing myself a month ago.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of learning something. So
Yeah.
the more you learn, the more information you have, the better you can deal with people, the better you can deal with situations, the better you can deal with life.
For sure.
You know, so when I have a really good experience with a client, awesome, great, champagne, the reviews, blah.
Yeah.
When I have somebody who's very hesitant, when I have somebody who is shopping around, right? These are the moments where you really want to like take a pen and make a mental note and say, okay, so this person appreciated this way, you know, this person didn't like this approach, right? Or I think I had a stronger success rate or conversion, you know, going about things in this way. If you're someone who analyzes and assesses the way that you live your life or like the way that things go, you'll be able to note that.
Yeah.
But if you just live in a frenzy, right, of gratification, you're satisfying desires. I don't think you're growing or you're developing anything within yourself.
Yeah. There's no actual personal development or
Nothing.
personal growth.
It's personal satisfaction, absolutely, but there's no personal growth.
Yeah.
And that is where I think the main thing that real estate taught me, and if I could tell anybody that gets into real estate, whether it's the mortgage side or, you know, the actual selling side of real estate, it's do not expect people to be grateful,
Yeah.
but do expect gratification out of all of this.
I love
Always.
that. I love
Always. Because people who don't even know you or people who you work with will see you post or will see you, you know, go ahead and brag about, oh, I did $20 million for the year.
Yeah.
I did this much for the year.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. I'm not taking away from that. Absolutely. You know, celebrate your successes, but there's so much more to that. And I think that the stigma that we have right now, especially like in this virtual reality culture, is that it's win, 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 rah, 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 look at me. And it's very important. It is to a certain extent, but that's what I think real estate has become. We've made this duality, like we always do with everything, of, you know, successful, not successful, good, bad, you know, top producer, senior loan officer. Like, what are you gonna do? Not the best producer, like,
Exactly.
you know, or
Yeah.
Just start day one loan officer. Like, we're not gonna do those things.
Yeah.
So we create this culture where it's actually, like, to me, easier for somebody to become depressed about it. You know, it's creating these pressures and these standards, these expectations that people are now have to keep up without even sharing. Not to say that you have to share your secrets of success, but without even giving you insight on how you got there.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe I had a perfect example. Somebody had asked me like, oh, you know, what's your goal for this year? And this is that. Now you, somebody had replied to me like, oh, now you got to do double. Now you got to do like this amount more and like 120 loans. And I said, I would much rather do 100 loans, not 120, and lose 20 pounds. That's what I want to do.
I love that.
It's not, I didn't take away from, you know, the success that I had last year.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not to the same degree, but I still succeeded in something
In other areas.
In a personal side.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where you have to have a balance. And I think that's what's made me grow the most in this last year.
For sure.
Even though I've been in the industry for 5 and I've grown exponentially on, you know, I guess like a business level, right? I've been able to go ahead and develop myself. But I can't say that personally I grew. Obviously, you know, financially I grew. I'm very stable. I'm very blessed to live where I live and to have the things that I have.
Yeah.
But I took a moment, and this is, I think, that pivotal moment, especially with all of us in this industry, because let's be honest, this industry, you can make a lot of money.
You can.
And it's ill. It's ill how
and it can
people,
get to you.
How it gets to people.
Yeah.
It's ill how it changes people.
I've seen it firsthand.
I
That was actually a motivator for this podcast, because I've seen so many people change. And it's like, yeah, it does suck, because not saying that that now they're bad people. It's just now their goals are different, and not even their goals. It's just their whys are different, and their whys don't really match up with my whys. So yeah, now I mean, I'm trying to surround myself with just like-minded people, and people that I have on this podcast. I mean, people that I know are people that I know personally, and like even if I don't know them personally, if I like how you were saying, if I see like through either social media or somebody tells me like, yo, they've been doing their shit. Yeah. Like they're not just like, oh yeah, he's a top guy and I don't know, like you don't know anything about him, like how you were saying, and yeah, I want to see that. I want to see people go through it. I want to see people actually walk the walk and talk the talk, because people focus on the titles, and they want, you know, these great big titles like senior loan officer, senior insurance agent, account manager, whatever it is, but they don't want to put in the work that comes with that title.
Correct. Like there's nothing wrong with being, by all means, I commend you. Like I celebrated my last year by myself 100%, because you know what you've put forth,
exactly,
you know, and you know the journey that it took to get there. Yeah. But one takeaway that I'll have is, you know, I had a friend tell me once, Adi, you always post, you know, like your little sunrises and all this and this and that. Yeah. But I damn well know we're going to get to dinner and you're going to tell me about all the frustrations and all of this and all of that. Yeah. And you don't post that, or, you know, like nobody sees that unless, you know, people are close to you. And I say, I mean, my argument was, well, ergo, you know, only people who are close to me. And he says, but still, you know, people need to know that it's not just the beautiful sunrise in the morning, it's right? True. And then out of nowhere, it's CTC, another CTC. You know, talk about the trenches, talk about the struggles. Yeah. So I did that a little bit last year, but I want to focus on doing that more, just because I pride myself on being very personable. Yeah. Like that's one thing that I dare say that I don't think it's that common, right? Just because I came from retail. So I'm a loan officer who came from the retail side of mortgages, right? For people who don't know what that is, retail, compared to wholesale, which is where I'm at now, the best analogy that I have is Publix and Costco. Gotcha. Right? Publix, everybody knows the brand, everybody knows the colors, the marketing. There's obviously a lot of money that's been invested towards that cost of getting that name out there and being known. Yeah. Versus wholesale, you have a couple of people that know about Costco, right? But at the end of the day, the biggest thing that Costco prides itself on is the bargain for your buck. Yep. Right? So that's, I think, the main difference, because you have corporate world, right, where it's more overhead costs. You have to worry about, you know, the food chain of people in the industry, right? Versus when you're in wholesale, it's very independent. Yeah. And I think that that's something that describes me very well, because I've always been very self-reliant, very autonomous. Yeah. So when I discovered wholesale, I really, really appreciated that, because you have the ability to decide like how you want to handle your business, who you work with.
You have that freedom.
You have the freedom. Yeah. And I remember when I started retail, I'll never forget it. Danny, if you're listening, I remember he told me once, I was so frustrated with a deal. It's probably maybe like my third deal ever. And I told him, I'm so frustrated. I can never work with this person ever again. And he's like, you don't have the luxury of choosing. Yeah. You know, you're just starting and you cannot be picky.
Yep. Beggars can't be choosers.
Beggars cannot be choosers. You get what you get, eat it or you don't. Yep. And it was a tough pill to swallow, because I'm a very stubborn person. Yeah. And I had to take it, sit on it, run with it for as much as I did, until I built a book of business, until I found what works for me, right? Because amidst that, I noticed that there was differences. To me, Danny was my mentor, and we were like a trio. It was me, Danny, and Carlos. Gotcha. And he was like the Don. So we would always look up to him. He was like a deal, and everything he did was cool. Not just to us, to everybody in the company. Yeah. You know, he was that guy. Gotcha. And I think it's important to have a mentor, because number one, you look up to somebody. You're always inspired. You think, God, I want to be like them, or I want to do things like them, you know, and it sets the tone. Yeah. But it also gives you like that ability to be like, okay, so you do things that way. I don't kind of exactly do it this way.
Yeah,
you know?
and it kind of gives you like a blueprint on how they do it, and then you can kind of do it your own way.
Absolutely.
But right now, who are your like 3 mentors?
Danny for life.
Yeah.
For life. We'll always get into little, like, not arguments, but he'll tell me, like, yo no te hice nada, niña. That was all you. Like, yeah. But it's important, even when people don't know the power that they have on others, it's important to let them know, even if they don't believe it. Yeah. Because it's my takeaway to my blueprint, right? And that's a mentor for me for days to come, with how he is as a person, with how he dealt with things. You learn observationally. Yeah. And me coming from a psych background, right? I analyze individuals and how they just basically create the lifestyle that they do. So I can pick and choose from the things that I learn from, and I think that's why, again, I love being so independent, because it's trial and error. Right? I remember and I think most people in sales, you're taught that you have to, on to the next, or like X amount of time. You're allotted this much because then you got to move on to the next. And it is very robotic, right? So that's one thing that I'm, I wouldn't say opposed to, but I don't put so much weight on.
Got you.
I think, especially mortgages, we do need to like automate things, because we do the same thing for every transaction, right? So you have to find a way to be more effective. But there's just certain things I will never compromise, and it's the personability. And I remember when I was still at PRMG, and I stayed on the phone. I would stay on the phone with the pre-approval calls for like more than 30 minutes. And one time Danny comes in, he goes, yo, you were on the phone for like 45 minutes with that client? And I'm like, yeah, bro. And he's like, mi hermana, like you can't, like you have to cut. You have to go on to next.
You have to prioritize your time. Yeah.
You have to prioritize your time, but it's still, even to this day, something that I struggle with.
Oh, for sure. Me too.
Because I'm just so, and again, this is the flaw that I spoke about. I become so attached. I'm so personable that I don't know if, like, I have a sticker here that they're just like, okay.
You can talk to me.
Like, let me just tell you everything.
Yeah, let me tell you my life story.
Let me tell you my life story. And I'm just like, this must have to do with my background, right? With the fact that I'm a very good listener. I really, really analyze things. Yeah. People don't expect the things I'm going to say.
For sure. And you're just real about the things that you say, too. And you give off that energy, too.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's something that I won't ever change in my business, because, yes, it ties into, how long I can compartmentalize things and I can move forward. But to me, at the end of the day, if that person felt confident or they trust me, the likelihood that person's going to refer me within the transaction is going to be much higher than if I treated them like a number.
For sure.
Because I tried it once.
Yeah.
I try, as someone, as a student of life, as a student of the game, you have to try things.
Yeah, you have to try to see if they work.
If they work.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to try it. Let me not be so testaruda. Let me not be so stubborn. So I go, okay, perfect. And this is when rates were bleeding. Business was bleeding because rates were on the floor.
Got you.
So everybody's phone was blowing up. So I was like, you know what? Instead of driving myself crazy today, let me try this whole little 20-minute tap.
Yeah.
So I'm there. You want to know what the person did?
They said, fuck you.
In their mind, for sure. And they probably said a whole lot of other things. But they went back to the realtor and immediately said, hey, yeah, I spoke to her. But you know what? I felt too rushed. I felt like she didn't really care. Which, again, everybody can have their opinion on it and be, you're being too emotional like that. Yeah. But it's still an opinion.
It is.
People's opinions are valid.
Yeah.
Okay? But their emotions are valid, but their opinions are still subject to the person.
Yeah.
You cannot agree with it, but the feeling is valid, right? So, and I didn't like how I felt about that, because the realtor came back and he said, look, the guy kind of felt like, like he was just another number. He kind of felt like you rushed him through, and he'd rather explore other options. I made that person feel insignificant. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we're all humans.
Yeah, it's a person. You have to.
It's a person.
You have to treat them like a person. And that's what not a lot of people, but that's what I see from some other loan officers and other people in our industry, that they just kind of treat them as a number, or like just see a new client as like a payday. Yeah. They're like, oh, new client. Oh yeah, we're getting the bag for sure. And is that those are the people that end up weeding out and getting out of the game.
The thing is that it's hard too. Like I had so when I came back, right, the reason I'm so big on posting now about mental health, when I was younger, actually, like when I was a receptionist at other places, openers, assistants, like still in the mortgage world, I still tried to kind of balance, because I didn't want it to feel like I went to school for no damn reason. Yeah. So I still kind of wanted to engage in advocating mental health and like going for walks, and like I was very involved, like as far as an activist for certain things. When I was younger, I steered away from that, obviously, as time went by and as more developed I became in my career as a loan officer.
Yeah.
But I realized that it takes a toll on you, man. And me, I'm somebody who learned about cognitive development. Like, I understand it because I went to school for it. So it's almost a different playing field for me.
Yeah.
And that's why now I'm like, now that I'm older and I can look back and see, wow, this really affects us. Like, and nobody talks about it.
Yep.
Why does nobody talk about it? Because we're too busy distracted. We have all this money from all these deals, or we're working so hard and we're just like, down in the trenches.
Yeah.
That once we're done, we're just like, I don't want to know about anything.
Exactly.
I don't want to know about anything. I need a vacation. Like, I can't, and I understand it.
Yeah.
Because I live it, but it's changed my life being able to monitor my mental health and check in on other people. When it's end of month, I text all my loan officer friends. I'm like, hey, you good?
Yeah.
You good? Like,
is that one of your biggest things that you've changed recently? Just making sure that you're self-aware of like how your emotions are and making sure that you put yourself first too.
Yes, I'm really, really big on that now because I lacked that for 25 years. So I think in the last 2 years, I've definitely been more about like self-development, because it's when you're growing through things and you're changing, right? It's different when you're going through something like with a life partner, right? But when you're going through all these changes by yourself, I think it sticks with you even more.
Yeah.
Because you're forced to analyze yourself. You're forced to understand your own behavior.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody to talk to. Like, there's nobody to fight with. If I'm having a shitty day and I have, a boyfriend, or I'll get home and I'll project that on them and I'll, treat them bad or what have you. There's going to come a point where buddy's going to tell me, hello, what's wrong with you?
Exactly. Or you got to get over this. You got to do something.
Like, I did nothing to you. What's wrong? So you're inclined to now communicate. You're inclined to now address it, right? Mm-hmm. So you have a little bit more of that, I would say. The proximity helps. The proximity with another human helps get it out of you, because imagine, unless I'm listening actively to a podcast, or I'll genuinely take a second to, like, a lot of people journal. I don't necessarily journal. What I'll do is I write a lot. So sometimes if I write a poem or if I write a short story, it comes from somewhere, a feeling that I felt or something that happened in my life.
I love that.
And it's and that's the way that you tailor the things that you like in your life and you gamify them, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, whether it's insurance, whether it's mortgages, whether it's real estate, like, if you treat it, again, like if everything's a number or everything is just a sale, you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
There's no novelty in it. There's nothing that you're gaining from it. All you're doing is just making another dollar. And for what? To blow it up, like, to buy this or to drink this, like, what's the end goal there? Like, what's the difference there?
Or what's your drive? Like, what's your real drive? Because just the money and just all the materials, that's not a real drive.
Oh, of course not. Like, so for me, that's why I enjoy making it personable, because I'll learn about different people. Like, I'm very big on variety, so that's why, to me, my things that I really appreciate, like, for example, cooking, music. I tell people all the time, I'll be serious, I'll be like, I'm a part-time disc jockey. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I know, what are you talking about?
No, you cook fire.
No, thank you.
You cook fire.
It's something that I'm going to start getting into, guys. I'm gonna start doing house calls.
Hey.
So just letting you know. No, but
first.
yeah, I have already a couple people already. No, Noel. I already know that there's a couple people that want to go. Vivi, Noel, Lee.
Yeah.
So there's a couple people already in line, but again, I have the ability to do all these things, so I don't get burnt out if I have to wake up Monday morning and I have to do mortgages, right? Because I'm 28 years old. Like, who wakes up and, you know what? I want to be a loan officer when I grow up. I want to give people the biggest investment of their life. I want to put people in $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 debt.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
No, you don't wake up wanting to do that.
Exactly.
And I don't want to say that it's, to pay the bills, because I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it because I find novelty in it.
Of course.
And that's in any field, though. Like, if I'm a chef, I find the novelty in being a chef. If I'm a producer, right, I find the novelty in the history of music and sound engineering, right? So my main thing that is caused me to focus on myself it's just everything that I've been able to learn.
Yeah.
And I get so excited to want to like to teach it to other people.
I love that.
It's nothing like I was before. And I think also when you're dating somebody or something, you're a little bit more reserved to the world because you have a person.
Exactly.
Right? And you could do those things with that person, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right? But I feel like when you're single, now it's almost like my duty, because I don't have kids, I don't have a husband, but I do want to share this info. I want people to, if I feel good, I want people to feel good.
For sure.
That's my project. That's my, I guess, purpose right now.
Your drive.
That's my drive.
I love that. What's one thing that when you originally started doing loans, what's one thing that you learned that now changed everything for you to this day?
One thing that I learned, if you say you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah.
If you at the end of the day, it sounds very simple, but it's the foundation of things. I think the culture, I grew up always with a lot of guy friends.
Mm-hmm.
I was always like the little sister, so they always taught me, word is bond.
Yeah.
And, you have to make sure that you walk it like you talk it. So I have all of these phrases from that, right? Because if you don't know what you stand for, right? How can you kind of build that opinion for other people? You know what I mean? You can't. It's gonna sound like you're trying to sell fluff.
Yeah, it's like being in a relationship. If you don't love yourself, you can't love another person.
With anything. If you don't love yourself or take care of yourself, you are not going to be able to succeed in your business. You're not going to be able to find somebody like in a relationship. You won't make time for your family.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's why maybe I'm such a big advocate on, being mentally healthy, because anybody who has overcome a lot of adversity will be looked at as somebody who's wise, right? I dare say that I'm a very wise person, but it's also because I've been through a bunch of things in my life. Mm-hmm. So that's why I have, back to the same thing, all of these experiences, all of this information, because this knowledge is what has made me so wise.
Yeah.
So it's a big combination of all those things, but I think that's what I would say that is most important. If you say you're gonna do it, you gotta do it. Especially if in mortgages,
I that's something that this year I've been really sticking to, because even for the littlest things, like if I'm gonna say, hey, I'm gonna call you in 20 minutes, I make sure I'm gonna call this person at 20 minutes.
You put that alarm.
Exactly, because there's been times where, and it's not even because I want to. There's times where I just can't get back to that person because
you committed.
You committed, so you have to keep that commitment.
Correct.
And that is super important, and that even the smallest commitments goes the longest of ways.
Oh yeah.
So
it sets the tone for how serious you are, for how credible you are. And at the end of the day, everybody we deal with is a stranger, unless you're doing a loan for your mom, your cousin, your tia, whatever it is.
Which, funny enough, those are the people that I don't really want to work with.
It's horrible. Like working, mixing business and family. It's always a fun time.
Not recommended.
It's always interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, like at the end of the day, they're strangers. So people tell me one thing. It's not a common question that. How do I say? So one thing with mortgages.
Yeah, like what's a common question that you get from people?
I wouldn't say that it's so much so about mortgages. It's about how I deal with it. A lot of my realtors, because I'm an open book, so people will call me, hey, what are you doing? This and that, whatever it is. And the most common thing I get is, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
It's not really a question.
Yeah.
But it's a most common question or statement that I get. I don't know how you do it.
That's fire. And it makes you happen.
Because I remember, so I have an underwriter of mine that she had this joke. She would tell my processor, she'd say, does Arianna stand in the middle of the street like, oh, you can't get a préstamo?
Yo, you're busy as fuck all the time. I always have an email from you in my box.
I just, and again, like, so it's not a secret. It's not like, because if you look at my Instagram, like I'm not on it. I don't have a marketing person. If anything, the most interaction that I get is my stories, because it's almost like a personal diary. Yeah. So I take people through this almost like a reality of, not TV show, but a reality like segment of my life and behind the scenes of what I do, right?
Gotcha.
So what I tell people is just be yourself. Like I don't do anything special. I listen. if they're telling me something, I'm not going to interrupt them.
Yeah.
And back to my, it takes up a bit of my time, because a conversation could be going perfectly fine. This podcast could be going great, but if I cut this shit short and I just walk out because I got to move on to the next, the disservice that I did for everything that we talked about, it's just thrown out the window.
Yep.
Because you clearly didn't care. You clearly are not respecting my time, and you have something better to do.
Yeah.
So even if you do, you just communicate. Hey, this client or the time that I spent speaking to this person, kind of went longer than expected. Give me a few, I'm going to give you a call. But it all comes down to communicating, setting the expectation.
Yep.
So you don't have to be like, oh, I gotta go because in a minute I gotta call this person.
Yeah.
You just be a human. Hey, so I do have another call coming up, but I just want to let you know, don't worry, we can keep talking about this. Like, finish telling me what you're telling me, because at the end of the day, it's important.
Exactly. And
how different is that?
No, it's super different, because there's been times where I've came across like I'm on a rush, like I'm in a rush, like I'm trying to rush this person off the phone, and I've actually gotten feedback where it's like, hey, like if you don't have time for this, like just let me know. And that just put me back. I was like, man, nah, I can't be like that.
Now you're back at square one.
Exactly.
Building the trust, building the rapport, and it's 10 times harder because the authenticity that you gave was just
got damaged,
shambled.
Yep.
Like that's it, you know? So now you have to repair instead of build.
Yep.
So that's where I guess my psychology background comes in, because that's what I do. I'm very personable. I let people know that I care.
Yeah.
And I try as hard as I can, and it shows. This week alone, I was behind on everything because of that deal. Mm-hmm. That deal that was dying, it was on CPR for like 3 days, like life support, IE, like, and I had to tell people, like, hey, and I'm very transparent, because if not, it's just another excuse. These people don't know you.
Yeah.
How can I trust what you're saying? Oh, yeah, I'm really busy, No, so sometimes I have this feedback from people like, you don't need to explain yourself. I know I don't. I don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
But I want to.
Exactly.
Because I want to relay this, because I want them to feel at ease. I want them to know that I care about them just as much, but I have something crazy going on right now. And because I care, I need to attend this.
Yep.
Because if the situations were switched, I'd give you all the same attention.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, what makes you stand out, because we all sell insurance, we all sell houses, we all sell loans.
Yep.
What's different about you? And don't tell me service.
No.
Because everybody says service.
Yeah.
What about your service?
It's just, it's the way that you handle people and the way that you treat people. Yeah. Because with other agencies, I've gotten a bunch of feedback from people that are now my clients saying, it's crazy. I call you and you answer your phone, and I try and call other people and I can't get them for weeks. And even that just amazes me. I'm like, wow, like,
that's
these
crazy.
other agencies like just don't care. Like, as for me, if I'm a client, I'm trying to call the people and they're not answering. Granted, maybe I call them a couple times, they don't answer, but if they just never answer, that to me tells me that you don't care about me, and you don't care about my business, you don't care about my house. And that's what a lot of people don't really understand, the importance of what we do. Because if somebody's insurance cancels, their mortgage is going to go up. And if they're basically check to check, any type of increase is going to affect them. So other agents, they don't think about those things. Yeah. Like I actually think about those things, and that shit keeps me up at night and like gives me anxiety, because I'm like, yo, there's people that like right now just can't, like, if something happens with their insurance, they're fucked. They have to sell their house, or they have to
can't afford it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the economy is very. I have a question actually for you.
I love
funny
that.
Enough.
Let's do it.
So since we both are relatively young, do you get that a lot? Do you get that, people will sometimes discredit you, or
for sure,
or start it off, have the second, I guess, that they find out your age, they're just like, Niño, como que niño? I thought we were sir, you know, like what changed?
Yeah.
Do you struggle with that? Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. So I don't think I've actually said on this podcast, but I'm 22 years old and I've been selling insurance for 8 years. So I started insurance when I was 14 years old.
That's insane.
Every day after high school, I would drive after school to my uncle's agency, because that's what I worked for. And I would just work from 3 to 7 or 3 to 8, 3 to 9. And I learned the same thing as you. I just started like filing paperwork, basically. Yep. Like just going there for a summer job. Like it started as a summer job, and then I just kept doing it. And then I fell in love with it. But once I started doing sales like 2 years after I started. So I started doing sales at 16.
Yeah.
And even the people, when they would hear my voice, because my voice was different at that time. Of
course.
They're like, nah, I'm not going to buy from this kid. Like, they literally knew that I was a kid. And the only way to overcome that is to basically just
stand your ground.
Stand my ground and explain the coverages and let them know, hey, look, if you go with this option, this is your outcome. And 8 out of 10 times what I said happened. So just knowing my shit and just keep putting in the work, that disproved all the doubt that they had, because they knew, okay, you know, he may be young, but what he's saying is true.
Correct. It's back to the same. It's back to basics.
Yeah.
It's just know your stuff.
Yeah.
That you can't fake that. Like you had to know what you were doing. So it comes to a point where almost psychologically you're like, the second you give a golden nugget, or you give something that's relative to what they don't know,
yeah,
you're familiarizing them.
Mm-hmm.
You're educating them. So that doubt of, because that's what we do, we reject the unfamiliar.
Yeah.
But now you're familiarizing whatever they want. So they're like, okay.
Exactly.
Keep going.
Exactly.
And that's when that's your in. That's your in. This is your moment of shine.
Yep.
This is what coverages is. This is what dwelling is. This is what all that good stuff that you taught me.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So. Yeah. But today I don't really get, funny enough that nobody's actually asked me that in a very long time. Now I don't really get any of that, like, because I am young, but people now just really see me as like, yo, if you need insurance, go talk to Julian.
But you have your tenure. Number one, you have people that back you up. Like, I have agents that will tell me, oh, like, who can I talk to? I'll be like, call Julian. Call Julian. No, but you know, I'm going to send me up. No, call Julian. Like, he knows his stuff. Like, you have to be a master of your craft.
Exactly.
You know, you can't be jack of all trades, master of none.
No, whenever people tell me that, I'm like, oh, whenever I meet somebody and they tell me, I'm like, all right.
Oh, that they're a realtor and they're a credit repair specialist, and that means they're an attorney, and they do. Like, come on, man, pick one, pick one. You know, like, I love to cook, I love music, I love doing loans, but at the end of the day, my day job, I'm a loan officer, right? I'm not anything else. I can help people do their taxes. Sure, I'm not an accountant. Yeah, that's not my niche. Mm-hmm. So people need to. And I think it comes from, again, people not knowing who they are, not knowing their purpose. Yeah, I think it's very, very, very important to being centralized, and at that point having the liberty to make conscious decisions, right? Yeah. I am an independent person, I'm an autonomous person, I am whatever it is. That's why I like certain things this way. Or I'm a sensitive person, right? Because I get attached to things. So I know that I cannot engage in XYZ behavior. For sure. Right? But you see how, to me, again, because I have that psych background, it's easy for me to analyze this. I'll take a situation, or I'll take a human, I'm just like, perfect. Yeah, exactly. People don't do that.
And the thing is that even without your background, if you do self-development exercises and actually work on yourself, you can actually see that in yourself, and then you're going to see that in other people.
There's nothing special about school. Like, it's just information. Yeah. Like, I think that, along with many other things in this country, are such a hustle. Like, because all you're doing with going to school, I will say, if you're a doctor, if you're an attorney, you know, you can't justify it. You need the title. Exactly. You need the background, right? Yeah. But for anything else in life, it's an excuse. You wanna grow, learn, pick up a book. And now times are different. You don't even need to read. Just listen to a podcast, you know, or an audiobook, right?
Exactly. But there's information everywhere.
There's information everywhere. And the only difference from somebody succeeding in something and somebody not is that this person had more information. Yep. That's the only difference. Nothing else.
Yeah. And the only difference on top of that is that this person actually applied that information. Correct. And this person just listened to it and was like, oh, yeah, it sounds good. Oh, yeah, like...
yeah. There's nothing... It's like the saying that they say with the whole... with a goal or a dream, right? You know, if you don't execute and if you don't have a plan of action, then that goal is never going to get accomplished. It's just a dream.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So. But what I really want to... What I just thought about too would be cool to talk about is how we actually capitalize in our industry, because for me, in my industry, I found out that there are agents that don't know shit about insurance. That you literally try and call them and they can't even explain to you the dwelling coverage, like in actual detail, what it means, and like actually walk you through specific situations that happen all the time, like for claims, how the claim is going to be handled. What happens if this happens to your house?
Yeah.
And I saw that and I was like, wow, there are really agents out here that really don't know shit. And if I just get educated and listen to the people that actually do it and actually apply that, I'm already winning.
Of course.
So that's literally all I've done. There's no magic recipe. There's no magic pill. It's just getting all the information and learning from people that already did it and just applying it.
Yeah, the biggest resource is mentorships, observational learning, 100%. But for me personally, just because I'm a product of adversity, and I'm very happy of it, I'm very proud of it. Normally, when I was younger, it's not something that you're confident about, right? It's something that you think it hinders you.
Yeah,
and
like going through so much shit.
Yeah, and you put yourself down, right? Because, you start comparing, right? So to me, for anybody in any business, fall hard on your face, on your ass, because that's what's gonna make you get up. That's what's gonna make you start again. And I remember I had a conversation with my dad once about marriage and about kids and about prenups, and he said, I don't believe in prenups. And I said, well, I don't know if I agree with that. And he goes to me, he's like, Arianna. And I said, well, I'm being honest, explain to me why, your opinion. And my biggest takeaway from that conversation was that he said, because I told him, I'm like, just, work smarter, not harder. Like, if you guys love each other and nothing happens, then perfect. He said, but at the end of the day, I'm building my relationship on trust. So if I need to do a prenup, it's because ultimately I don't trust that this is going to work out. In the event that this doesn't work out, I have a prenup in place. And I said, I can respect that, but you never know what can happen, right? And he goes, and this is where we realized, that we have different, to our cores, foundations. I come from, I don't trust easily, so I always have this defense. I always have a what-if mentality, and it happens to a lot of people. It's not necessarily a bad thing to have trust issues. It's just something that I'm aware of, right? So I know how to live my life with certain things and how I am a certain way. He doesn't have that per se, but he still brings so much positive attributes that I took from that, because he goes, well, I'm going to trust that it works out. If it doesn't work out and we have to split the money.
Yeah, he has a backup plan.
No. So I thought, I'm like, so you have a separate account then?
Yeah.
He's like, no. Everything is together. And I said, okay. Also, my parents are still happily married for 30-something years, so God bless them.
That's very rare. That's super rare.
It's very, very rare.
And that's very sad that it's rare.
Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
We'll go down that rabbit hole. But the main thing he told me, he said, even if, I worked super hard, and even if she cheated on me, even if whatever it is, and we have to split ways and we, split the money or what have you, it's something that I was able to attain. I can do it again.
Yep.
And I told him, I'm like, but why? Like, why work harder like that? Like, you could just be smart about it and, like, still have that money and still have the pride in, like, the fact that you earned it. And he's like, because it's not, I don't have pride in something that I did and I kept. I have pride in something that I do and I continue to do. And I was like, I love you so much. That's why you're my dad.
That's amazing.
So it's things that, again, two different perspectives. And I'm telling you, we were going, I was like, Papi, no, like, I worked so damn hard, this and this and that, and he had his opinion. But at the end of the day, what that brings us to is that two different people that have two different perspectives, you still find some kind of
common ground,
or something that, you say, you have a valid point.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we lack in nowadays, because think about it, Instagram in itself, everything on your timeline are things that are tailored to you. You're not even thinking anymore.
Yeah.
Same thing, another platform, Spotify, right? Now Spotify has, if you listen to music, it'll show you songs that, are similar to your interests.
Yeah, and they have recommended playlists for you.
Recommended playlists, so why is it recommended? You're not learning anything new. On the contrary, what's happening is your stream of consciousness is being tailored to your own thought. So it's like, it's you and what you like, and that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm going to focus on. How do I expand that? How do I diversify myself if all I'm being given is, like, specific dopamine levels of things that I already like, and I'm already, like, it's you're addicted.
Yeah.
At that point, you're addicted to yourself, to your thought, to your perception of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and people think that...
And then you get offended. If it's not that, it's, oh, you don't think...
Exactly. They're like, no, what do you mean? I'm learning about this stuff. What do you mean? It's like, no, you're not learning. You're just reading. You're just reading, and you're in the same place.
You're not intaking it. You're not assessing it. You're not applying it. So it's dormant information. Y para eso, that's why we have a bunch of tabs on Google open.
Exactly.
If you're not going to use it, if you're not going to allocate it to yourself as a human, why are you advocating it? Why are you talking about it? To sound important for 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Again, the fake it till you make it. No, like if it looks cool, or if you want to, go ahead and promote it, awesome. But learn about it a little bit, like just have some kind of context, because it helps you grow. If you know about it, it helps you grow. I go out alone all the time. Oh my God, because I talk to a wall, but I just like conversations with people. I enjoy perspectives. I'll go always to the bar. I'll always sit at the bar. I'll work at the bar. I'll eat at the bar. I won't even drink. I'll just chill there. For the most part, yes, I'm drinking at the bar. Yeah. But, it encourages like conversations with others. And that's why I think now it doesn't matter your age, right? Yes, I was able to do a full circle. Yes.
I love that.
So it's not so much so about your age. It's about your mental age, right? Because at the end of the day, who gives a shit about a birthday?
Yep.
It's what's different from 12 o'clock at night, like, and then another day. Like, there's no difference, right? But what makes you, I think, more mature, what makes your mind be something that's more exploratory, right? That people are engaged. Yeah. It's your experiences. It's the connections. So I don't discriminate any age. I could talk to a bartender that's 21 years old. I could talk to the man who's 40 at the bar, Exactly. But at the end of the day, everybody's got a story. Everybody has something that I don't know. And the day I personally think that you're done learning, you failed.
You did.
You failed.
You did
ultimately.
Fail. And that's the thing, when you also feel like you're better than everybody else, you also failed, because even from people that you think are way below you or not smarter than you, everybody has their own perspective and their own experiences, like how you're saying. And there's always one little thing that you can take away from everybody. Yeah. You can even take it away from the same experience, but the perspectives on how they viewed that experience and how I viewed that experience, we can take things from each other, from our perspectives.
Yeah, that's the thing with our industry too. Like, I think, especially because we network a lot, right? Like, you go to a lot of networking events, I go to networking events. I'm not really necessarily shy to go to them alone, but only because I'm better mentally prepared now. Yeah. Obviously, when I was younger, you have that whole like tag team dynamic, right? Yeah. You want to have somebody there like by your side, but when you go dolo, it's fight or flight. Yeah. Like, talk about something. Yeah. And if you got nothing to talk about, like, exactly. But why?
Another thing too is that I feel like people take a lot of those things very seriously. Yeah. Like, granted, what we do is very serious, but on the networking side, like, people just take like for events, for example, if you go to an event, like, you're gonna be super nervous. You're like, what the fuck am I gonna talk about? Mm-hmm. Like, do I talk about work? And you try and like just dump them with information, and it's.
Imagine at a bar talking about like the 5% deduction on the policy.
Exactly. Like, people just want to know you, and they just want to know, again, your experiences and your story. So.
Yeah, like, and I think that is very important, because you are approachable. Yeah. That's another thing that I've gotten a lot. A lot of people ask me, back to your point, like, how are you so busy? Because I'm very approachable. Yeah. Like, it's not, I do know that I'm a successful person, and I battle with like imposter syndrome a lot, so I don't really like celebrate it as much, or I'm very big on like, just keep your head down. Like, keep your head down. You never know when all of this is going to be taken away from you. It's true. But it does have a negative side to it, because you don't give your own credit. But to me, at the end of the day, it's just be yourself, right? Because if you're too, like, I'm so amazing and I'm super busy and like blah, 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 people aren't going to want to work with you, not because you're not proving all of these things that you're saying, but in spite of it, because you're giving off that you're so busy and you're so successful that it's intimidating. Yeah. Granted, we're not here to tiptoe over people's feelings. Exactly. So if you're being sensitive and you think that I don't have time for you, and you did not even reach out and attempt it, that's your own problem. I get that. I get that perspective. I do. But at the end of the day, if we're just humane about things, right? You just take a step back. I guess, if you will, that is my secret to anything, is just I'm very human about things.
Yeah.
So I want to share something and to have somebody be like, I have a question. Perfect. I will answer it. You know, like, this is my phone number, right? I can't tell you all the deals that I've gotten just because of Instagram. And again,
exactly
I don't market. Like, I don't do like every once in a while I'll do like, Mortgage Mondays, but it's on my story. I'm not like doing these posts that like, you know what I'm saying? Like, which, guys, I'm not, talking down on it. It's amazing. One of my best friends is a marketing director, so I know the importance of it, but I'm sharing my secrets or the way that I, lead my business. So for me, I don't focus so much on that kind of marketing. What I do market is just my approachability.
Yeah. You market you.
I market me. Yeah. Like, I'll market me, how I handle things, like my situations, the days that I'm having, things like that. So that's why people are more inclined. I have people all the times in my DMs like, hey, I have a question about this. Yeah. Or like, hey, because I'm approachable. That's one thing that people will tell me. Like, and even when I speak to them on the phone, I think it is a work from home thing. Now that I do analyze like myself and my differences in the last 3 years. Yeah. Ever since I started working from home, I do see how I naturally have more of like a human desire for connection because I don't deal with humans day in, day out. Like when I was in the corporate world, I was always like Little Miss Sunshine. Yeah. I would always like make the cafecito, like, oh, you guys, what's up? Like always talking to everybody, like, how are you? So I'm a people person. So when you work from home, tables are changed. Yep. Like completely different. So when I speak to people, to clients, to whomever, it's exciting. I gamify it.
Exactly.
I gamify it.
You're actually on the phone and you're actually excited to talk to them because you're like, oh my God, I'm actually talking with somebody.
With somebody, you know what I'm saying? And not to say that I'm locked up like Rapunzel, you know, but it's the way that habitually now I am. So now I talk to people and it's the little idiosyncrasies, right? Mm-hmm. So if I get a really Cuban couple or what have you, right? And I notice that the wife is constantly interrupting or she always like takes the mic like in the situation, right? Because I'm just analyzing. What do I do with my personality? I'll be like, Jefa, let me, and you hear the little laugh in the family, right? Exactly. Because I already read the room. Esa es la que manda ahí. Yeah. So I'm going to say jefa. It's going to like induce a little bit of like, break the ice.
Yeah, and then now they trust you.
And now they trust me, right? So it's not coming from a malicious way, right? Nope. Because at that point, you're balancing, being manipulative when you're like reading the room, right? Yeah. And analyzing. Yeah. Versus just kind of tailoring, to how to deal with the situation.
Exactly.
Right? Like if I have a New Yorker who is just like very serious, like this is all business. Like, so I already know
you're gonna be super direct. Yeah, you're gonna be super direct.
Very direct.
All about numbers.
This is the rate. This is the payment. These are the closing costs. This is what it is. Yeah. Because I know who I'm dealing with.
Exactly.
But I think that a lot of people, again, only because I have a background does not justify why other people shouldn't put this part of their life or put this part of their business. For anybody who's listening, please, like I really do encourage you to pick up a book, pick up a podcast. Like I hope that psychology becomes more important, like for basic learning, right? Yeah. Because I remember in high school, everybody had like Psych 101, but nobody gave a shit, right? Yeah. So it's something that we don't emphasize on it. And that episode with Paul Conti, the psychiatrist that I mentioned, he talks about and he emphasizes how it's a societal negligence, and I couldn't agree more. Like it opened my eyes, and I think that's why I have this big like mama bear, like I'm gonna hug the whole world. Yeah, I want everybody to know, because it's so important. It's so impactful. Like I feel completely different, that I want the whole world to just get a little like taste of it, get a little glimpse of, dude, just take a second, like understand the situation, analyze it. You're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to feel better that you were able to understand somebody. I get a joy when I speak to somebody and they're just like, yeah, bro.
Yeah. And they get it, and they can actually relate to it. Yeah. And that they're not like, oh yeah, like I actually understand what you're saying. You're not just trying to sell me on something. Yeah. Or you're not just trying to make money off me. Like you're actually trying to give me the best option and put me in the best position.
Yeah, and that's something very important, like to all loan officers right now. Like I know we're struggling, I know rates are really high. The best thing I can tell you, because the elephant in the room is that clients are shopping, right? People are shopping around. So what's the best thing you can do? just show people that you care for their best interest.
Yep.
That's it. Like, work with what you got.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, you can't control the product that you're serving.
Yeah.
You know, you at the end of the day, you're not an economist. You don't control the secondary market. You don't control mortgage-backed securities. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So deal with the deck that you have and play as hard as you can. Right.
Exactly.
You know, be strategic, care, work hard. You know, we're back to these moments where I talked about it months ago. It's crazy that now we're on this podcast, but I went to dinner one night. I was at the bar, and there was, funny enough, this lady next to me. I had no idea who she was, but she was basically on the board of directors of Amarant. It's a bank in Coral Gables.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm there, I'm talking to her, and I tell her, I'm like, as I'm drinking my martini, I'm like, I can't wait to see like all of these like refi loan officers fizzle out.
Yeah, for sure.
Because for anybody who's listening, so in 2020 when rates dropped, everybody and their mother wanted to become a loan officer because the business was bleeding. There was so many people that wanted to refinance because rates were so low. So what happens is that stigma of get rich quick, right? Let me get in this industry, I'm gonna make a lot of money and and that's fine and dandy, but I want to see you now, right? Like right now when rates are high, you know, like that's what counts.
Yeah.
You know, like, so for people who don't have that like willpower and things like that, it's okay to let this go because the stress will kill you. I since I started talking about mental health more and since I started sharing like that it's not all peaches and cream, I had a loan officer call me, this week, last week, time's a blur.
Yeah.
But called me and he said, hey, look, I want to see if you put your money where your mouth is. And I was like, well, that's one way to start this phone conversation.
For real.
But they said to me, and I said they said to me, you know, I want to talk to you about, you know, like, how's your day-to-day? Like, how are you feeling? Like, how are you going through this tough time right now in this market? And I says to him, it's hard. I'm not going to deny that it's hard. I don't feel comfortable with just having a deal for the month. I always like to have a pipeline prepared for the following month.
Yeah.
So I may have 3 or 4 deals, but to me, that's not enough. I need more. Now, where's the healthy balance there? Because this is what happened also in 2020, that people just had this like abundance mentality and it just became
and you just kept pushing.
more, and you have no time for yourself, right? So that's where you have to have a balance.
Yeah.
So you have to think ahead because I'm just a logical person and it makes me feel better to function that way. But whilst at the same time, I force myself to have a balance. So if I have, let's say, X amount of deals, I already monitor, okay, X amount are closing. Okay, I gotta like, you know, start hunting or like follow up with people or, you know, find different ways to get more business. Like one thing that I tell everybody, don't be shy, like ask for business, you know, like
every opportunity with somebody else is an opportunity for business. It's every
we're in sales.
Yeah, every opportunity is networking. You're always networking anywhere you go.
Any kind of sales that you're in, right? Like any industry, you have a guaranteed salary, so it's, you know, you don't have to focus on like what's next. But if you have a job that's commission based, at the end of the day, like whether you like it or not, whether you are fond of capitalism or not, like you're in it.
Yeah.
Accept it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's the path you chose. Nobody's forcing you to be in sales.
Yep.
Right. But if you're in it, it's because you're aware of the benefits of it.
For sure.
So I have this argument with my mom all the time because my mom's a doctor.
Yeah.
So it's completely opposite.
Oh, yeah.
I try to tell her, you know, you went to school, then you did your residency, then you did like XYZ, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And now you have this stability.
Yeah.
You know, you are a well-earned individual because you had your road and you got there. I told her, I passed the fucking exam.
Exactly.
Like I got a license.
Exactly.
You know, I spent $700.
Yeah.
And, you know, depending on how much work I put in, that's how successful the end of the year result is.
Exactly.
Right? So I didn't necessarily have to put myself through years of training or years of schooling or what have you. So I tell her, you know, my opportunity cost compared to yours is different.
For sure.
So the life and like what I do now, that's those are the stressors, right? That's what I need to have patience for. That's what I need to endure because at the end of the day, I only spent $700 for the lifestyle that I have.
Yep.
Monetarily speaking.
Yeah.
Now, physically speaking, emotionally speaking, mentally speaking, everything else.
You spent a lot.
I've spent so much.
Yeah.
I've spent so much. But it's the way that I've chose to go about it. So many different people go about it in different ways.
For sure.
Some people...
And your mom went through the same thing, like
yes,
with school.
It's just different hats.
Exactly.
It's different fields. It's different hats. Like
exactly.
I know she went through the trenches. Yeah. Her end of month is probably studying for the tests that she had to pass to, to make sure that she was up to date with whatever medical studies came out. Or, I mean, imagínate, if there's different diseases or different cures for things that are discovered, don't you think you need to refine your intellect? Don't you need to refine your studies?
You need to constantly be keeping up with everything.
So it's development.
Yeah.
We always need to be growing.
For sure.
And I think the more we talk about these things and the more we tell our friends, especially now that we're getting older, it's going to make an impact. And it already does in our career, right? Because point proven, you developed from 14 years old to 22 years old. You know your damn shit. You know what I'm saying? No one's going to judge that. No one is going to even doubt it. Yeah. Regardless of... And I'll share my experiences. Mine was my voice, just like yours. I would talk to people and, niña, y dame si te hago. But then the second that I would talk about, the secondary market and how the 10-year treasury is affected by this and how this meeting is going to happen here, and I think we need a lock right now. No, I think we need a flow. Yeah. Look, I think conventional is better because X, Y, Z. The second they realized that, they said, okay, let me sit back.
Exactly.
Let me listen.
Yeah, because we all have different hats and different languages. I mean, depending on what you're doing. Like if I'm at work, I'm obviously gonna have my sales hat on. I'm gonna have my insurance hat on. Make sure that I go in that day knowing that all right, I'm gonna do my best to try and explain all the coverages. Talk to all the clients that I possibly can, because even too, like, what I want people to remember in our industry is that it's impossible to get to everybody. Yeah. At least the same day. It's impossible. Yeah. It's impossible.
It is. Even though you try, and what's worse, and again, that's something that you have to keep an eye on, because you may want, and it has happened to me, so I'll talk about those moments, where I want to, everything in my being, I'm going to call you in 20 minutes. Yeah. And then something happened.
That goes back with keeping our commitment.
And I feel terrible. Yeah. If it's 8 o'clock at night, I forgot to call Jose. Yeah. Yeah. And my mom would be like, Arianna.
Yeah, but and that happens to me now. But what I do now, instead of just shying away from it and be like, oh, just call him tomorrow morning. I'm I'm going to call him now. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I text him. I'm like, hey, look, this is why I didn't call. Are you available now? I can talk now. Correct. And like, I don't, instead of just pushing it off and just saying, oh, it's tomorrow's problem.
Oh, it's already late. He's already paid.
Exactly. No. Any problem that can be handled today should be handled today. Yeah. Don't leave it for tomorrow, because a bunch of other shit is going to stack up tomorrow, and then you have all that shit on top of that, and it's going to start stacking up, and it's going to feel like you can't get anything done.
Oh, man. And also it creates a way for you to, like, I guess, filter, right? Mm-hmm. So what did I learn from this week? My biggest takeaway from this week that was really, really difficult was I should have vested less time in something that, wasn't getting a different result. Yeah. Versus letting everything else pile up. Yeah. Because now I'm just furthermore stressed. Exactly. Right? Like we spoke, I think, Thursday, and although I had like positive news of, I'm getting 4 contracts. Yeah. I was not happy about it. Yeah. Because I already knew that like the predisposition feeling is that I'm already behind. Yeah. So it's already negative. I'm not even excited. Yeah. I'm dreading it actually, because I don't know when I'm gonna get to this. I don't know when I'm gonna send my intro email. I don't know. Everyone's gonna text me on Friday like, did you order the appraisal? And I'm gonna be like, yes! Yeah. Yeah. So you have to learn sometimes to say no. Yeah. You have to learn that you can't have it all, and there's gonna be times where if you don't adapt or if you don't make these changes, the cost is going to be worse in the end, right? Yeah. So that's something, again, that with my whole, revamp on mental health and personal growth, opportunity cost.
Yeah, but you also created a team.
I did.
A1 Lending.
I do. I have a team. I'm very, very thankful for my team. I would be nothing without them, absolutely. But it's still that, again, attachment issue that I have. I don't know how to let go. Anybody who knows me probably is hearing this part and they're like, yep. Yep. Yeah, don't we know it? Yeah. Because I don't.
But what do you mean, like, let go of what?
I just always like to know what's going on with my files. Okay. If you tell me, oh, Martinez, appraiser's order titles this, there's this, and that's, again, something I think that a lot of people don't agree with in the industry. Yeah. There's a lot of individuals and businesses who'd say, Loan officers should not be in the trenches. They should not know what's going on with the file. They should get the contract and they should give it to the team. Granted, yes, that's what you have help for, but I will never believe that you don't know what's going on with the file. Like, you have to have pipeline meetings. You have to at least, or you could pretend to not know what's going on with the file. So you test your team. I'll do that in my pipeline meetings. Like, hey, what's going on with Martinez?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, she knows. Right? But at the end of the day, you need to know, you need to be aware, because if somebody calls me, and that's why realtors, or what they've told me they really like about me, that they can call me, they can text me, and I'll know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't need to, sure, there's details that I may not be, caught up on, but at the end of the day, if they're not calling me on a specific detail. They're calling me on like a big headliner thing or something important that I should know about. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Anything else that's menial, that's like very...
Yeah, they know that you're going to get it done.
Like that. For the most part, I appreciate the different partnerships I have, but for the most part, I do have partners that they just entrust in me, right? Yeah. Because they've had good experiences. Exactly. So they're just like, I just know that she's going to get it closed. Yeah. Like, I just trust that. Yeah. There's other people who are a lot more involved, and I appreciate that too, because that's where it, you build that relationship. They see the behind the scenes. They understand more. I love when agents want to know, like, oh, well, what happens if you remove the dispute? And I'm like, well, this is what happens actually. And if the score drops, the loan explodes. Isn't that great? And they're like, what? And I'm just like, welcome to my life. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's fun to, again, I gamify everything because it's boring at the end of the day. It is.
Our industry is super boring, but we found ways to make it sexy.
And correct. Yeah. And that's why I appreciate what I do, because it's not just your day-to-day, like, oh, yeah, so, like, your DTI is this, and, like, let me hear your income, and, no, like, I make it fun. Like, oh, how long have you been working? What's your line of work? Oh, I do this. Oh, yeah, talk to me about that.
Or you're like, damn, what's up with that credit card, bro? What's up?
It's the way that you deal with what's been dealt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm very big on that.
For sure. So, question, what's your morning routine?
My morning routine during the week, and then the weekend is very different. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm not. So during the week, the first thing I do, actually, believe it or not, is not get on Instagram. I am very big on that because my mom I would make fun of her, and she would promote Headspace. Like, I was like, do you get paid for this? Like, is this a little side hustle that nobody knows about? Because she was adamant. Adi, please use Headspace. Adi, please use Headspace. Because she doesn't share the same stresses as me, right? Like, as we spoke about. So whenever I would tell her my story, sometimes I talk all day to people. So I need to vent. So when I'd vent to her, she didn't know how to handle it. And I'd be like, it's okay. Like, I just need you to pop off on somebody. Exactly. Like, just be there, please. Yeah. She said, okay, well, I'm very concerned. So, please use Headspace. So what I do now, as soon as I wake up, I do Headspace. When it's a meditation app, basically what it is. So I'll have that playing. You can pick like Australian voice, English voice.
I like that.
Whatever you want. So it's novelty. So it's something new, right? So I'll have that playing in the background, do my bed. Very big on that because I'm very, very messy. For everybody who knows me, they're like, yep, very, very messy. So I do like to make my bed because it sets the tone. Yeah. Aside from that, now that I live in Edgewater, every single morning I'll have my coffee on the balcony and I'll watch the sunrise.
I love that.
Like, sin falta. Yeah. Sin falta, that's what I do.
I'll do the same shit. In my apartment, same thing.
Like, it's calming. It's calming. It puts you in a state where you don't want to disrupt this peace. Yeah. And to start your day like that, right? Back to the point of my friend who would say, you don't display the negative things. Well, I can have a shitty day, but you know what I'm looking forward to? Waking up and it being 6:37, and I know I'm gonna sit on that like balcony and I'm gonna watch the sunrise. Yeah. And whether it's doing the Headspace, the other thing that I do is listen to NPR. So it's a national public radio. It's a podcast for like current events. Nice. So every single morning I'll listen to it. It's like 12, 13 minutes. It's really
is that like one of the ways you keep up with current stuff?
Hell yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah. Like, that is to me, and my mom was always like that when we were growing up. I credit my mom a lot for just my vocabulary. When I was little, for dinner, we had this giant textbook. It was this big. It was like 1,000 most common SAT words. And she'd be like, every single night, I want you to tell me 10 different words.
Wow.
So even though I'm very funny because it's like a very healthy yin and yang balance. Yeah. Because again, the culture that I grew up on, it's very Miami. So I have my moments where people will speak to me and I'll be one way. And then if you get me on a formal side, you know, it's completely different.
For sure.
It's night and day.
Yeah.
And I accredit it to that. So I like to keep up with those things. I like to be aware. I'm not just, you know, somebody that, you know, can make you laugh and you can be yourself with, but you know what? No, like, let's talk about the second earthquake that just happened, right?
Exactly.
Like, let's talk about, you know, these 10 poor Palestinian people who died a week ago, right?
Yeah.
And these are the things that, again, I don't expect everybody to know what's going on. We all have lives,
but it's important.
Coño, it's 12 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, it's 12 minutes and you have an idea of what's happening and you can more or less like tie in what's happening around you so that you can converse with people, you can interact with people. Like, I think they had a hearing this week with China about what a relationship is going to be like, how their economy is going to be like as far as their real estate. You know, and granted, like you don't know much about it, but if you can bring up the topic and get somebody's point of view on it, then you're learning.
Yeah, you're learning. Exactly.
You're learning about it and you're just like, interesting. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Duly noted.
Exactly.
Right? But it's something that now you know that you're growing as a person. Like, so whether it's podcasts are very long, obviously. So I can't recommend podcasts to everybody because you're going to lose their attention span. You're gonna, you know, it's not for everybody. I get that.
Yeah.
But at least try. And again, I'm not inducing my opinion upon anybody. Do whatever you want in your life. But it's helped me just be aware because I feel as an American. Well, I was born in Ecuador, but I am an American. You know, it's our duty. Like we have no reason to fucking complain.
Exactly.
Like,
and no reason to fail.
No reason to fail. You have no excuse.
Yeah.
No excuse. Like at the end of the day. So if you have the means to at least be aware of what's going on, do that. You know, don't tell me like, oh, I don't listen to the news. Bobby, I don't listen to the news either.
Exactly.
But it like at least 12 minutes of somebody telling you what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
So that you're aware and you're not in your own bubble and you're not just on Instagram, comiendo mierda, and not knowing anything about anything.
Yeah. All you know is just about other people's lives.
Like, which okay.
Yeah, it's like okay, but is that really important?
You know?
Yeah.
And what's been the main thing for me in the last year, it's just we don't talk about anything.
We don't.
Like especially in our industry.
Yeah.
Like I'll go to events and I'm just
that's why I gravitated so much towards you, because our conversations were different. Like it's not just, hey, how are you? Oh, like, how was your week? Oh, like, oh, yeah.
How are your numbers?
Yeah, how are your numbers? Oh, yeah, what's up with this file? It's not about any of that. Yeah, I want to go to events to not talk about work.
One thing with me, so when I used to go to, like, events that had to do with accounts or what have you or whatever, yes, your main goal is, you know, to capitalize. Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Right? But if your personality can bleed through it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Exactly.
It's 10 times more worth it because, granted, you know, I can walk in with, you know, a purpose of let it be known that I'm a loan officer, right? There's a room full of realtors, you know, like let somebody know you do mortgages, you know. But at the same time, I'm not big on pushing like my sales approach is different. My sales approach is it's not like because at the end of the day. How many realtors know about conventional FHA, VA, right? Not a lot. At the end of the day, the most it'll come down to, respectfully, everybody, is setting up the contract. Yeah. Like, yes, you'll have realtors that know more about, you know, the intrinsics of it and what have you, but it's not like they really care, right? Exactly. It's important to, if I'm a realtor, you know, I want to work with a mortgage loan officer that's very savvy, absolutely. But I'm not going to meet somebody and be like, did you know that mortgage insurance for FHA actually just went down to 0.55% and not
be like
0.85%?
Oh, what the fuck?
You're going to be like, hi, my name's Eddie.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah, but that goes back to what I was saying is like, you can't just dump information on them. Like, you actually have to show them that you're a real person. Yeah, and just try and just be a person with them. And that's it, because they're a person too.
Their personalities are so distinctive. Like, I've worked with realtors or I've met people that I'm just like, this is not gonna work.
Yeah.
Like, this is just not, like, our personalities just don't work well. We'll politically and respectfully, finish the transaction, but you kind of make a note for yourself that, if you're, so me, I'm a person of logic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a person of composure. So you're never gonna get anything out of me if you're just like, for example, if you try to wave $1 in front of my face, I'm not inclined to pay attention to you.
Yeah.
Because it's not, if I'm telling you, oh, I'm busy right now with something, I'm, finishing a closing or whatever, call me, it's a lead. Venga, me importa a mí.
Exactly. Well, I want to hear about a problem
Like
that I can help, or like a situation.
I just address that I'm not available right now. I'm dealing with something that's important, and you're telling me, I have a lead. We're not gonna work well, because I'm somebody who respects all clients. I don't have preferences. I don't believe in VIPs. I believe that, the queue is very important. Granted, there's things that are priorities, so you weigh them out. But I'm not going to interrupt something. I'm going to give each particular scenario or situation its due diligence and its importance.
Yeah.
I'm always going to do that. So if it's taking up too much time, I will tell them, oye, hey, I'm still busy with this. I'm going to get to it. And I'll go out I'll text the client, I'll do that. Because I'm not going to compromise my way, my business model.
Yeah.
It works for me. People appreciate that I respect their time. And at the end of the day, I'm not creating like positive reinforcement on negative behavior.
Exactly.
It's something that
and you're also setting your own boundaries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, at the end, look, perfect example, and I use this more often than not now. I tell people, some people resonate with it or not, but I'll tell them, when you make a doctor's appointment and you have a primary doctor, right? This is somebody that you go to for years, whatever it is. If you want to book not consultation, but you wanna go see your doctor on Friday, but your doctor is not available. The closest availability that your doctor has is on Tuesday, right? Are you gonna go find another doctor?
No.
Or are you gonna wait for your doctor?
You gotta wait for Tuesday.
You gotta wait for Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not saying that it's always going to be like that. And I'm not here saying I'm the best loan officer in the world and there's not other loan officers that you can reach out to.
Yeah.
Absolutely there is. You can. But if you respect how I work and the results that I always provide, you shouldn't be scared that you can't get to that person on time. Because the reason that you're so busy is because people appreciate how you work.
Yep.
And your business is multiplying.
Yep.
So you can't knock somebody for not getting back to you because they're busy with somebody else.
Yeah.
That person is just as important as you are.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And if it's that dire, reach out to somebody on my team. Now, you want to talk to me,
then you're going to have to wait.
And you have to wait.
Because there's other people that I have to attend to, too.
Like, if you want it right now, we can get it done right now.
Yeah.
You're going to have to reach out to my processor. You're going to have to reach out to my loan partner.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
But if you want to deal with me and I'm dealing with somebody, respectfully, you're going to have to wait.
Yeah.
Some people don't like that.
Yeah. That's something that...
Some people don't like that, and it is what it is.
Yeah. That's something I started enforcing because I was always like, whatever lead that I can get, I'm going to take. And like, whatever policy I can do, I'm going to do. It doesn't matter if it's $4,000 or $400. But now it's like, now I have to actually prioritize my time and who I'm actually working with, because one, there's people that just think of me as a quote monkey, that they just send me leads and they just want quotes, but we never actually bind.
Yeah.
And then there's people that actually say, no, Julian is the guy, you have to go through Julian. Or like, here, look, this is our recommendation, this is our go-to. If you want to work with somebody else, that's fine, but at least this is
who I suggest. Yeah.
Who we suggest, exactly. And I've just been learning to prioritize those people that actually suggest me and, actually value me, one, as a person, and actually value my time, because they understand. You get it too. We actually had this conversation this week because there was a lead that I taken like a day to get a quote, and you were like, no, bro, I understand. Like, we're all busy. Trust me, we're all busy, so I understand. And that's what I love, and that's also part of like good communication, because we communicate well. But that's also, you understanding and me understanding. Yeah. And
you have to put yourself in people. It's perspectives.
Yeah.
It's perspectives at the end of the day. Like, I know how I feel, and that's why I share little things about my life. So I have certain realtors that already know me, and we're very good friends. So they'll call me and I'll be like, hi, what happened? nothing, bro. I'm just sitting with this fire and you know, it's okay because, you know, we've established this relationship. I remember when I was in the corporate life, they would tell me, never let anybody know that you have problems. Never let them know that the deals are a mess. And you know, you don't want to portray that. You don't want to, you know, give the energy that there's, you know, things that could go wrong. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. No.
Like, no, man. Of course.
You're setting yourself up for failure.
For failure because they think, and now you've created this stigma that, you know, which is the stigma that everybody thinks about loan officers, that we're just there like with the air conditioning, like crunching numbers, like 3.5 dollars.
The same thing for insurance brokers. Oh, yeah, we need the insurance $800. Okay. It's not it's like we're not magicians.
Yeah.
Like there are rules.
We're problem solvers, but we have to work within our means, our guidelines. You know what I mean? Like I have people who, you know, bad credit, no sé qué, is that. So is there anything else we can do? Like, what else could I possibly do? Like, you know, so.
And then there's even people where it's like, look, I pushed so much further than I'm supposed to push. And there's other things that I'm doing that, one, other people didn't even think about doing. And one that other people, let's just say that other people didn't think about doing. And even then they're like, but can anything else be done? It's like, dude.
It's like you give them a finger and they take the whole hand. But I think again it comes back because they don't know the back end. They don't know the background. So now I'll have situations where realtors are already savvy about things because I've explained it to them. Yeah. And I like to hang out with my people.
Me too.
It's not just, you know, all business, you know. I'll hang out with realtors, we'll go get food. Yeah. I tell realtors all the time, like, come over, like work out of my house.
Like my friends, like you yourself, you're a loan officer that we worked together for years, and other people that I work with that are now like my friends. Yeah. And that I actually like being around because we can relate to each other, and like people think that all we talk about is work. But it's not. We just...
Oh, hell no. Yeah. I go crazy.
Exactly. But we definitely learn from each other from our experiences. And our experiences kind of go hand in hand with each other. But another question is, like, what's one of your, like... I don't know if you've, like... If you can think of it right now, but what's, like, a productivity hack?
Productivity hack? Ooh. Alarms. I have... My phone's in my purse. But if you go to my alarm app in my phone, there's probably every single time you can think of, I'll have like 5 p.m., 5:55, 6:55, like, and what I'll do is if I have a function, right? Oh, this person's getting out of work at 5 o'clock, make sure you call me. Look, it happens. You know, things bleed into other things, right? This loan might have exploded and I didn't expect it to, and now it's overcoming my whole day, but the alarm will go off and I'll remember. It will stop me. Yeah. And I'll take a second, even if the world is ending, depending how bad the world is ending, right? Because sometimes the file's ending so bad that you really cannot address anything else. Yeah. But in the event that you can, you set those alarms. Yeah. Because it'll help me. I'll stop. I'll take a second. Even if, you know, whatever it is, it'll take me 2 minutes to call the lead, right? If I committed to something, that's what I'm going to do. So as far as hack, I would say setting the alarm and doing your to-do list for the next day, the night prior.
I love that.
Even though it's, and I'll say it myself, like if I don't do it the night before because I'm extremely exhausted and I'm guilty of it, right? I'm just like, screw this. Like,
you at least wake up early and try and do it early.
Exactly. Yeah. I know that I'm going to tap out right now. Okay. You got to wake up earlier and do that to-do list before it dips into your time of already, like, plan of action. Exactly. You don't plan your action in the middle of it. Yep. You have to plan it before. That way you win the day, execute everything that you have to do. Yeah. And you already set the tone that, all right, got this. When I don't have my to-do list, hell breaks loose. Yeah. I'm not a happy person. Like, and everything is a hurricane. The whole day is a disaster. Oh, and why? I'll think back because I really, really analyze everything. So I'll think back and say, why did this week fucking suck? Like, why was
because you didn't structure, right?
Because I did not prepare. Yeah. So that's a hack that I recommend everybody do. Even if your day is not too filled with things, still organize it, still do your to-do, because if you see that you only have things to do up until 4 p.m., what is that doing? It's basically enabling you to create things to do for that other time that's just empty, whether it's for personal growth, whether it's, I'm going to go work out, I'm going to go take a walk, I'm going to learn about, these new guidelines, I'm going to take some time and do some marketing. But you have the means to say, okay, at this time I'm going to do this, at this time I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
So you yourself create your schedule before just like kind of floating.
Exactly.
And
then having the day control you. What's a 2-1 buy down?
So right now the 2-1 buy down it's very infamous.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are expressing that it's a useful tool to kind of manage how high interest rates have gotten and just kind of like to battle inflation. And it is very useful. I'm not too big on ARMs, which are adjustable rate mortgages, just because they always give this like context clue of 2008, right? They give that feel.
Yeah.
So people, go back to like this negative time and it induces fear into them. So that's why 2-1 buy downs, they don't talk about it as an adjustable rate mortgage, but it is something that adjusts. So it's in the name. 2-1 buy down. You have basically an interest rate that you're going to lock in, but you're going to see maybe a point, 2 points, depending on the program. You have 1-1 buy downs, 2-1 buy downs, 3-2-1 buy downs, right? So depending on the category that you have, the interest rate will be reduced by X amount. So you'll have, let's say you lock in a 6.5 and you're doing a 2-1 buy down, right? You're going to have a 4.5 for the first 12 months. Then you're going to have a 5.5 for the next 12 months. And then finally, in turn, it will adjust.
Yeah, to whatever it is at that time.
No, to the rate that you locked in, to the 6.5.
Gotcha.
So adjustable rate mortgages, the original concept of that is correct. You're subject to whatever the market is. But this buy down, it's a product that's created because simply they thought of it. So you have to, for the most part, it's based on seller concessions. So the seller needs to give you a credit in order to go ahead and obtain that buy down, right? The loan officer, not sure how it works in other companies, but I do a buy down calculator. So it will physically tell me exactly how much is needed for the specific rate of the buy down that you prefer, right? So it's a very good selling point. All loan officers that are listening, I encourage you to give it to your listing agents, but in a way to show good faith towards the seller and let them know, hey, look, the buy down for this particular rate will help the client $200 a month for the first 2 years. It will really, really encourage them to want to move forward on this offer. That's why I'm asking you for this seller credit. Please see the rate buy down calculator. This is exactly what I'm asking you for, specifically for the rate. I just want to get this done. Help me help you.
Got you.
So anybody listening, when I've done it that way, 9 out of 10 times we get the credit because you're being honest, you're being upfront, and at the end of the day, it's everyone wants to close. Seller wants to close, buyer wants to close. So if you just communicate that this is going to help the buyer execute the sale, I don't see why the seller would be opposed.
Yeah.
Because you're coming at them with logic and explanation, right? It's how you say it. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
For sure.
So that's a buy down. You basically ask for the concession. So what you save in, let's say, the 6.5 versus the 4.5, let's say you save $100 a month. For those 12 months, you save $1,200. Yeah. Right? That's the amount that's needed for that year for that rate buy down. And then same concept for the following year and what have you. So they put it in an escrow account.
Got you. Okay, cool. So can you explain the difference between conventional FHA and VA loans?
So the difference between conventional FHA and VA loans, it's very standard. You have two governing parties. You're going to have the Housing of Urban Development, and you're going to go ahead and have Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Anything that's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, it's a conforming loan. It's something that's traditional. It's conventional. So that's where conventional comes from. Housing of Urban Development, its whole purpose is to help veterans, it's to help first-time home buyers, it's to help a targeted audience that the government wants to go ahead and aid. So, FHA, for the most part, it needs to be your primary home. And they also want to help consumers by making the minimum credit score 580, right? VA loans, these are for our veterans. For everything that they do for us, they do not have a down payment. That's a loan program that has 0% down payment, and it does not have mortgage insurance. So those two programs, anything that's government based, I always think are great programs because they help people, right? They help you get a foot in the door, right? Conventional or conforming, these are your more traditional products. These are for people who, may or may not have already had experience. Maybe they were in a position where they were better prepared, right? Because sometimes we're a product of just our environment. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
So that's why we have distinctive programs. But the gist of them, conventional, myths of conventional. You need 20% to buy a home. You do not. I still get these calls. I still get these comments. I'm blown away every time. And I tell people, if you're a first-time home buyer and you have good credit, you can come in with 3% down, not even 3.5.
What's good credit?
Good credit would be, depending on the program, right? Conventional, I would say good credit is above a 720. Right, 700 is still great credit in general. Everybody, it's absolutely great credit. I'm speaking from mortgage concept or mortgage perception, because the higher the credit, the better the mortgage insurance, the better the interest rate. Right now with FHA though, if you have a 680 alone or 660, if I'm not mistaken, you're doing great.
Wow.
So it's and these are such different tiers that I've had people tell me, oh, I don't think I have good credit. I have like a 650. I don't know. FHA minimum credit score is 580. Granted, you don't want to buy a house with a 580.
Yeah.
Because you're going to reap the repercussions of it, right? Your rate is going to be not the best. It's going to cost you, or, sometimes it's going to require a higher down payment because can it be done? Yes, absolutely. But biggest takeaways are that FHA is more flexible. That's a good word. Mm-hmm. I think FHA and VA are a lot more flexible, but to that same extent, that's why FHA, a really big fact is you can never get rid of that mortgage insurance.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're in insurance, right? Yeah. The whole purpose of insurance is to try to ensure that nothing goes wrong.
Yeah.
So if I have a higher risk with these loans, because it's people who are coming in with the least amount down possible, it's people who don't have the best credit. At the end of the day, I'm not going to get rid of that insurance. You have a higher chance of defaulting. Yeah. Right? Versus conventional, once you've paid off 20% of the loan, you get rid of your mortgage insurance, because the bank already has, more money on their side. Yeah. The risk assessment is less because you're more credible, right? Gotcha. You have higher credit. You're coming in with a larger down payment, right? So you're not susceptible to having that mortgage insurance for the life of the loan. Yeah. So those are the main differences. Whenever I tell people about, which program is better, you just have to measure the risk. If you're a high risk person, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't get a loan.
Yeah, it's just going to be more expensive for you.
It'll be more expensive, or we'll have to you venture out to a different, loan program. Yeah. There's options. That's it.
For sure. What are some good down payment assistance programs?
Good down payment assistance programs right now, the talk of the town is Hometown Heroes. Yeah. Everybody's talking about it. It's a great program. There's still a plethora of funds left, guys. The gist of it is certain eligible occupations, you guys are entitled to 5% of the loan amount. So you can go up to a max of $25,000, which would be a loan amount of about $500,000, which right now in Miami is pretty standard at this point if you're looking for your dream home single family, right? So you would be able to get a 0% interest, basically second loan, right, to help you with your closing costs just by being one of the over, I think, 70 occupations. And it's just a matter of finding out whether the loan officer that you're working with is approved for this program and qualifying for the requirements. It does have income limits, it does have credit score limits, but it is a very huge tool that if you qualify for it and you're comfortable with the payment, because it is a fixed rate. You do not get to pick the rate. You do not get to buy down points. It's whatever the market presents you, that's what you go with. But if you're, again, your affordability, so if you're comfortable with it, take advantage of that program, 100%. Yeah.
What's another program besides Hometown?
Another program aside from Hometown Heroes would be HAP. Mm-hmm. It's one of the oldest down payment assistance programs that Florida has. And what it does, that one is a second lien that you must live in your property for at least 3 years in order, to go ahead and not have it default on you or what have you. But depending on your income levels, you could get approved for down payment assistance of $10,000, sometimes $12,000, what have you.
What's the difference between a cash out refinance and a HELOC?
So that's a very good question. The big difference between a cash out refinance and a HELOC, they are pretty notorious still, even with rates being the way that they are, because one of them is basically a line of credit that you're taking out based on the equity of your property. So if you buy a property at 300,000, now it's worth, let's say, 450. You can take out X amount of money from that equity that you built up.
And that's a HELOC.
And that's a HELOC. So it's a separate loan. It's with a separate interest rate. Versus a cash out refinance, you are taking out the money from your property, but you're still changing the terms of your original mortgage, of your original loan. So a lot of people aren't so inclined for this route because if they have, let's say, a 3%, a 4%, rates right now are average at 6.5, 7. You're going to take money out, which you're already going to increase your loan amount, but then also rates are higher. So a lot of people aren't venturing that route unless it makes sense.
Gotcha.
There's certain situations where it could make sense, but for that reason, I always tell people, you speak to a loan officer, make sure that they weigh out both options, because even though the HELOC won't touch your interest rate, maybe with the property, you can liquidate all of your debt, and even though you have a higher rate, you only have one payment a month, which is the mortgage, and you paid everything else off. So there's benefits to both.
For sure. What's one tip that you want to give to realtors?
One tip to realtors. Let me see. I think one tip that I would give to realtors is to try to understand a little bit of the mortgage side. I don't expect any realtors to know all of the minor details and the guidelines, right? Because I, for a fact, do not know how to do comparables, right? Everybody has their niche, but I think it does help as far as their initial contact with the client, because the elephant in the room always comes down to how the financing is going to be.
Yeah.
So if you can't defend yourself, back to, you can't fake that till you make that, because one piece of incorrect information can completely destroy the conversion of that lead. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know what you're saying, perfectly fine. We're all human, but practice that. That's actually very that's actually a very good question, or that's very important. I'm going to go ahead and confirm with my lender so that I can give you the appropriate information. Or you know what? As a matter of fact, if you'd like, I can go ahead and either connect us to my lender, or I'll reach out to my lender, right? Depending on how green the client is, right? But at least you're giving them that peace of mind that you're going to get them accurate information for what they want to know. Because they heard from fulanito de tal, or they read on Google, or whatever it is. You become that guru. You become the source, that engine of information that they're going to stick with you.
Yep.
So that's what I would tell realtors. You don't need to know all the gist of it, but know a little bit of the superficial information to the point where if they want to know more, guess what? Throw it to the lender.
Exactly.
And then...
Exactly. You swish it.
And I swish it.
Exactly. Yeah. What's a tip that you want to give homeowners?
A tip that I would give homeowners is ask questions, and don't ask questions to your family members. Don't ask questions to Google. Ask Google who your local lenders are or mortgage brokers are, right? But ask the questions to the professionals, because there's so many things that people don't know. And there's been so many cases that I've told people, you didn't have to be at the same job for 2 years, and they'll just break out, really?
Yeah.
I could have bought a year. You could have bought the house the second you got the job, depending on the program, depending on what, your history was. So some people miss out. You know what 2 years of owning real estate will do for you?
Yeah. I want to ask that too, so you can get the clip in. That'd be fine. So do you need to have the same job for 2 years?
You do not need to have the same job for 2 years. That and so many other things are one of the biggest misconceptions that you have in mortgages. You need a 2-year history. You do not need to be at the same job for 2 years. Now, the line of work is important, but it is not necessary. So it's a fun fact.
I love it. Back to the mentors. Who are your other 2 mentors that really drive you?
My parents. My driving forces are my parents, because... funny enough, and I'll share it with a lot of people really appreciate and, commend me on how close I am with my family. Seldom do people know that I had no relationship with my family growing up, actually. we had a very tough time. I was that like rebel without a cause, but I had a cause, but I didn't have a cause. So we didn't really have the closeness that we have now. And now the camaraderie that I have with my dad, oh, it's crazy. We'll talk. He'll talk to me about his business. I'll talk to him about my business, and my mom as well, because she doesn't per se understand it as much as my dad does, because he's in sales, but just for logistics.
Gotcha.
So we definitely gravitate towards each other. But I appreciate that my mom is in a completely different scope, because it helps me help her understand. So it actually teaches me that I can't just expect people who are in sales to understand, because ergo, they're going to understand.
Exactly.
You need to be able to express yourself across all boards.
Yep.
And she still finds a way to motivate me. She still finds a way to help me with, self-help or battling the stressors of my job. She may not understand my job, but she helps me deal with it.
Yeah.
And my dad helps me grow with it, right? So whether he changes or implements something in his business model, I'll note it, or I'll express something and he'll change something in his business model. So I would definitely say that my parents are my other two mentors.
I love that. Yeah, my parents for me too. They're my mentors as well. And also my, I don't like to call them my bosses, because like just saying like your boss is like, it's like, they're also my mentors too. Like my agency owners, like I learn a lot from them.
Of course.
Yeah, and I learn a lot from them, like business wise, and also just personally, just the way that they handle themselves.
Take from it.
Yeah.
Take from it. I don't think your mentors necessarily have to be part of your industry.
Yeah.
I think just the way that they live their life, if it's aligned with how you want to be as a person, then absolutely. My dad knows zero about mortgages other than the refinance that we did for them.
Exactly.
But
he probably gives you the most help out of anybody.
Oh, absolutely. Like if I pride myself on my personality, it's my dad. If I pride myself on my character, it's my mom. They are different things.
Yeah.
My mom is a little more TNT, so I do explode sometimes, but internally I'll implode because I want to do it all. She's a typical Latin mom that does everything and then bitches about how nobody helps her, right? So I want to do it all. Oh, nobody helps me. You don't kind of let anybody help you.
Yeah.
So it's these things it's the good things and the bad things, right? So you learn all of these things, and they're not necessarily bad, because you're learning about people's traits, and you take from that what you will, and then you also kind of recognize it and remix it for yourself.
Yeah.
So that's why I say your mentor doesn't have to be somebody that's in your field. It just has to be somebody whom which you look up to and who you admire, and the principles and morals that they have are something that you align with. That's a true mentor.
Do you think that a significant other can be a mentor?
I think a significant other can be a very good partner. I don't know that they can be a mentor, because then at that point you disconnect yourself from the person to being equals, right? You are at this point not idolizing them, but to a certain extent you are, right? You should always, in my personal opinion, I am someone who loves relationships, or at least I'm someone who had very lengthy relationships, right? So I'm not opposed to them, but that's why I'm very picky with relationships. From the times that I've had a 5-6 year relationship when I was younger. So I started very young. It was my high school sweetheart. And then it bleeded on to maybe the toxic years of like my first couple, like undergrad in FIU.
Yeah.
Then after that, I had another relationship, and the previous one I had. So it's not something that's so habitual for me, but they were for lengthy times.
Yeah.
So what I can say from all of them is that it was more so a partnership. It's never so much as, I look up to this person or I need this person, right? Because once you do that, I feel like you lose yourself.
For sure.
If you lose yourself in a relationship, it's doomed. No matter if it's romantic, if it's a friendship, if it's a career.
Yeah. If
you don't have your placement and you don't know yourself, whatever relationships you have are doomed.
Yeah.
So
would you, you can correct me on this statement, but I would say that the mortgage industry is a male-dominated industry. So how is it being a woman in your industry?
So the mortgage industry, when I began, I would definitely say it was a male-dominated industry. For the most part, I do believe that it still is, but it is turnkey. I do see a lot more women in the industry now, but at the end of the day, you have to track back to the history of everything, right? Because it's not just the dominance, but it's the culture. So if you always had men dominate the industry for years on end, from back to 2008 to up until now, granted, we can have a lot more women in the industry, but the culture still may be more inclined to the male aspect, right? A bunch of testosterone, a bunch of look at me, like rah, rah, like So, and granted, you need that because it's a competitive field, right? So at the end of the day, what are things that for the most part induce all of this testosterone, all of this, competitiveness? Sports, right? You're not going to tell me that the WNBA gets the same reaction as the NBA. It's not. I could be a feminist, I cannot be a feminist, whatever you want. It's just facts.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when it's more male dominated, for some reason, there's more energy, there's more competitiveness, there's higher stakes.
Yeah.
For whatever reason it is.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's the tenure that it's been around, right? Because logically speaking, women most recently got rights. Women most recently got these opportunities, right? So, well, you get women in that arena, of course. It's absolutely, but it's a fraction of the energy. It's a fraction of the population.
Yeah.
So, speaking back to the culture of finance and of success, so to speak, right? Historically, men are always more successful because they had the opportunity before us. It doesn't mean that they have a better chance. No, and I think now with how times have changed, more women are seeing that.
Yeah.
I think they're less afraid of that.
Yeah, I want to touch on that too because I feel like we're in super unique times because if you see a girl on Instagram and you see that they're flexing, being on a boat or in a nice car, having money, you automatically think that somebody else is giving that to them.
Yeah.
But let's say that there's a woman that actually wants to become a real estate agent or a loan officer. What's something that you would tell them?
What I would tell them, to all my ladies listening, the number one thing that I will say is never work with somebody who constantly compliments you physically. Never work with somebody who wants to have, that has an agenda, right? Or that you can at least foresee that it's not all formal. And I say this because we have that, what's the word? I guess we have the notion. I think women have the notion that, and I'll be frank, it's what everyone's thinking. Like, oh, she probably slept with him to get to the top. She definitely she probably sleeps with him to get those leads. It is what it is, right? It's just the notion that's out there. It could be true, it could be not true. But for me, at least, and back to the whole, when Danny would say, you can't be picky. I absolutely will be picky, and I will not work with somebody who, hey, my love, hey, babe, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah.
And it's not que I'm pesada. It's not that I'm rude or I have an attitude. If I was a man, you would not speak to me in that way.
Yeah. You
would talk about business. So I hold... Not everyone has to be the way I am. I grew up, with male culture, so I'm very business about everything. When I was in retail, I was the only girl in the guys club, right? Because I knew how to hold my own. I was very direct about things. So I think that's the misperception that women have, that we're very emotional or that, we slut our way to the top, right? So if I have advice, I would say work extra hard, right? So that there's no... room for somebody to not validate that, right? And at the end of the day, just keep your head down. Just keep your head down. Don't boast about it. At the end, you don't need to prove anything. I feel like people who need to glorify that, it's because they need to justify it. So if you know what you're about, and at the end of the day, your numbers don't lie and they speak for themselves, then that's all you need to focus on.
Exactly.
That's about it.
I love that. No, I definitely wanted to dive into that.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard because
and it's actually something that I even forgot to think about, because with you, like, it's so easy to talk with you, and it's kind of like how you're saying, you get along with guys and stuff, and
it's not to say I don't get along with girls.
Yeah, exactly.
I've definitely, and especially getting into this industry, because so a little bit of my background, right? I dated somebody for like almost 7 years. I befriended all of his friends. We all became a family, right? So all I know is, like, you know, being the wife and being around all the brothers and being around this, and, you know, my history in life, you know, precedes itself. I worked at a barbershop, you know, so I have that culture. I understand it. Now I am a woman, so I naturally have my woman culture, and I have my friends who are women, right? But it's beautiful for the female loan officers whom I've befriended. We are our own animal of this hybrid of, we understand how males work in the industry, and we almost have that, you know, like, what's up? What do you need? You need this? Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna get it like this. We're gonna, you know, I have one way of being when it comes to my clients, a lot more personable touch, a lot more hand holding. They're, you know, whether they're first time home buyers or whether they're, you know, big time investors. I'm committed to you. I'm going to dedicate myself to you. Now, if I'm talking to my realtors, I do have this hustler hat on. I don't think hustle has a gender, right? Because I'm a big hustler. Like, I will be in an elevator and I'm talking about something, and I'll find a way. I'll just, like, no se me va una. Like, I find a way, and I'm just like, by the way, if you ever need a loan, like, here's my card. Like, I don't know.
I
like,
love that.
It never fails.
Yeah.
So it, like, hustle doesn't have a gender, but I think it is very important to know how males function in the industry and how females function in the industry. Females, for the most part, if you will be a little bit more docile, because we're expected to be that way, right? Because we, again, the basics, we care, we're nurturing, what have you. That's fine. That's an upper hand that we have, right? Because that's something else that we can add to the table. Now, if I learn what it's like to be in sales, I want to talk numbers, I want to talk game plan, I want to talk conversions, right? So that's not something that, to me, I put a gender on, but it's just facts, you know. It's been a male-dominated industry, and for that reason, because it's competitive, because it's direct to the point, it's not emotional, it's logical. So you can have a little bit of both, and then you're just an anomaly like myself. And things happen.
I mean, but your results show.
Yes, I mean, it's taken from both ends, right? So for any women or any girls or anybody who wants to get in the industry and are, you know, I guess intimidated that it's a male-dominated industry, take a chance, take a leap, because it's personality driven. Sometimes I'll never forget when I got my in at this particular office, that their biggest thing was that, oh no, because the in-house lender, you know, he was just a little too intense, like he was a little too brush office, and like, you know, like, you have that little touch, and I'll take it, like, you know,
take whatever you can get.
I'm not super big on, like, oh, like feminism. Like, feminism is important, but I'm very neutral in a lot of things in life. Like, I like to appreciate the opinions of, you know, being a feminist. I like to appreciate the contrary, right? It's just, take all the information you can, make your own opinion about it. But yeah, it's not the biggest difference being a woman in this industry, because at the end of the day, you just gotta hustle. Yeah, that's the difference.
Exactly.
That's the only difference.
And let the work just
speak for itself. Oh yeah.
Exactly. I love that. And with that wraps up this episode of Mind and Grind podcast. Thank you all for listening. Again, my name is Julian Manis, your host. And remember, keep your mindset strong and never accept failure in any realm of your life. Thank you, everyone.
I had an amazing time. This was my first time being on a podcast. I think it exceeded my expectations, just because I was very nervous at first. Whiskey helped. But I enjoy this. I feel like me and Julian really made some kind of an impact. I don't know yet. We haven't published this, but just everything that we spoke about got me so passionate. I completely lost my nervousness, and I really hope that you guys like it, because it comes from the bottom of our hearts, at least for me. I know for him as well, but it's something that he's put a lot of work in, and I really hope that it changes the lives of everybody.